Hello everyone, welcome to this video on essence, and I'm going to talk about the difference between essentialism and nominalism here. So what we're going to begin with is this question. I want you to think about it. How could you make 50 cookies that are identical? That is, same shape, size, weight. So pause the video and see what you can come up with. So some of the ideas that I had were you could weigh out the cookie dough to make sure they all had the same weight. You could make sure you've mixed it thoroughly so that all the mixture is dispersed. You could use the same size spoon to measure out the cookie dough. And you could even use a mold. A mold might be a good way. So have a look at these three gingerbread men. They're all gingerbread men. We can look at that and recognize that all three of them are gingerbread men, though none of them are identical. This guy's missing a bit of his right arm, this guy's missing a bit of his head, and this guy's missing a bit of his left foot. So they're all gingerbread men, but they're all like a little bit different. And so the question is, what do they share in common? What makes them the same? So that might be one to think about for a moment. A good answer is the mold. That all of these gingerbread men are, in a way, they're sort of shadows of the mold, that they indicate the mold that made them. So let's scroll through here. We're going to have a look at a number of pictures. So you're just looking at that and taking notice of what they are. We have a table hanging from the ceiling, a table levitating, some maybe magnetically. And so on the screen here, we've got all different types of tables, tables with 4 legs, tables with 2 legs, tables with 1 leg, some that are round, some that are rectangular, some have a flat surface, some have a chamfer at the edge, all different shapes and sizes, yet all of these things we recognize as tables. And so for Plato, he said that the essence of a table is the mold from which all tables are made from. That all of these tables point to the perfect or ideal form of a table. And that every table we encounter is a shadow of this perfect form of a table. So here's the distinction. So when we're talking about essentialism, that says that these essences exist, that every individual table exhibits the essence of tableness. And we're going to contrast that with nominalism, okay? And nominalism says essences don't exist. That table is just a word. It's just a word we use. It doesn't have any meaning beyond the language that we use for it. The essentialist will say we can use reason to discover essences, and then the nominalist will say we're socially conditioned to believe that essences exist. The essentialist says, well, these categories, they exist independent of your mind. Regardless of what you think, these categories exist. And nominalists will say, no, the categories are man-made. And so that last point is probably the key distinction between them. Categories exist independent of the mind. And then the nominalist says, no, these categories that we group things into are man-made, like the distinction between a table and a chair. So Plato, we've talked about Plato's allegory of the cave and how the people in the cave are living in the realm of shadows, that everything they see is a shadow. And so this is what, like the Platonic idea of essence, like Platonic meaning derived from Plato, that each table we see, every table you observe, the table I'm banging my knuckles at now, is a 2D indication of the true, perfect, and ideal table that exists in the realm of essences or forms. So Plato sees there's 2 realms. There's this realm of shadows and there's this realm of forms and essence where the ideal forms exist. Now Aristotle, who was Plato's student, disagreed with him. Aristotle said, yeah, I think essence exists, but I don't think it exists in a separate realm. I think that the essence or the mold of things exists in each thing, it only contained in each thing that instantiates it. So for instance, like you think of the gingerbread men and the mold. Well, in this example, Aristotle's saying the mold doesn't exist, okay, it exists separately. It exists in each of the gingerbread men. So think about that in terms of triangles. Okay, so here we have like a truss, a roof truss. Here we have a pool, a billiards game pool, the setup triangle piece there. And then we've got all these different types of triangles that you might see in maths. So all of them are similar in one way, but they're all different in another. They all instantiate the essence of a triangle. And so Aristotle says these things contain the essence of a triangle, but triangle doesn't exist in some separate realm. So my anticipation is that, just judging from the opening questions we were talking about yesterday, most of us would probably take a nominalist perspective. That is, we said things like, there's no such thing as a good person. It sort of just depends on what you think, what you're conditioned to believe. We can't believe. We can't decide what's right and wrong for someone. Those are the sort of things we were saying. So it seems to me like we're probably leaning more towards nominalism, that these categories don't really exist, they're man-made. And so for that reason, I'm going to try and challenge us a bit and put forward some arguments in favour of essentialism. So there's going to be 3 arguments here. I think the first one is the simplest to understand, although it might look like it has a complex title. And then the second 2 may be a little bit more complex. So here we go. We're going to delve in and we'll see how you guys go with these arguments. So we're trying to defend the thesis that essence is real, whether it be Platonic or Aristotelian. So essence in the form that Plato says is real, or essence in the form that Aristotle says exists. We're sort of defending both at this stage. We're not making the distinction between them. We're just saying essences do exist in some manner. So let's have a look at the first proof. Existence is metaphysically prior to human language. And so what that claim means, what that title means, is that things existed, okay? Things existed. The earth, the dinosaurs, the planet existed before humans began to speak. Okay, so that's the claim of this, and it's saying because of that, essences exist. So generous estimates of anatomically similar humans put us as a species emerging about 200,000 years ago. So theoretically, if you go back in time 200,000 years ago and reproduce with one of these guys. The dinosaurs, however, we can see the dinosaurs here, they sort of first appeared around 245 million years ago and then suddenly disappeared 66 million years ago. So they're sort of way before humans, been around for much longer than humans as well. So this is the question then. Are dinosaurs man-made categories? Is there an objective mind-independent difference between a dinosaur and a rock? Okay. If so, then the categories are not man-made, but nested in reality, because these categories, these forms, these essences existed before a man described it. I mean, yes, it's true that the word dinosaur, okay, that word dinosaur that we use to describe these animals in the English language, that is invented by humans. Yes, the word is man-made, but what the word signifies, the essence that it signifies, is not. So the fact that dinosaurs are distinct from rocks and plants and other types of animals before a human mind or human language can say so, can say that there's a difference between them, means that there is a difference between them prior to language, that these essences exist before human thought. Okay, so that's the first argument there. Okay, the next argument is about the unity of kinds. And so if we think of the world and the way it operates in just the way it would if things really had essences. So in particular, think about the unity we would expect if they had real essences. So for one thing, they're related to one another, like this oak tree and all of these oak trees along the road here are all related to each other in a way that they are not related to puppies or rocks or humans. Okay, they're all of the same kind. Oak trees are all of the same kind. Okay, in a similar way, all puppies are all related to one another. They're sort of in the same category in a way that they're not related to, again, oak trees or humans or rocks. So this is because all oak trees have the same essence, okay, the same core nature. All puppy dogs have the same core nature that makes them puppy dogs. So this is like sort of, relevant from just a sort of a macro observation level, but it also makes sense in terms of in the scientific realm at the subatomic level. So if you think of like physics, chemistry, and biology, they all fundamentally assume to the scientific process that essence exists. So if you think of the current model of physics, we've got these atoms and molecules, and water molecules are the same. These three water molecules are the same because they are all 2 parts hydrogen and 1 part oxygen. That's the essence of a water molecule. And they're uniquely different from a table salt, from sodium chloride, because they have all 3 of these, okay, share the hydrogen and oxygen. That's not present in sodium chloride. And so salt and water are not the same kind. They operate and behave in different ways because they have a different essence. Okay, our last argument here is the unity of individual things. And each individual thing is united to itself. You think again of the oak tree or a polar bear or a table. Each behaves over time in a uniform and predictable manner. Oaks grow acorns, not apples. Chickens lay eggs. Chickens never lay shoes. And a table is never a table one day and then turns into a car the next. It retains its tableness. It retains its essence throughout its existence, despite any superficial changes such as a few scratches on the surface, dents on the legs, or maybe even a new paint job. This too is what we would expect if things had real essences or nature, and would be truly mysterious if we thought of their essences as merely human invention. So essence might be difficult to articulate, but this doesn't mean that it does not exist. It seems to be it's a problem with language rather than the idea of essence as such. So like an example might be, it's difficult to describe the color yellow, but that doesn't mean that yellow does not exist. So that's the idea of essence, and we've put forward some interesting arguments here for essence and reasons to believe in it. So hope you enjoyed the video, and good luck answering those questions.